Okay, guys, that's about 11 or 12 different chords. Two of them are repeats. This is for all my beginner friends out there who are just getting started and maybe are trying hard to memorize some new chords that they learned, some of the first chords we learned, which is funny because the first chords you learn aren't really beginner chords. They're just the ones that you show first. So, and by that, I just mean that you're going to use them in all the songs that you play, even way down the line. It's just that none of them are really bar chords yet. One of them kind of is, our F chord. We'll get to that later in the video. But I'm just going to show you, I think, kind of an easier way to associate the names of the chords with the chords and a simple order to play them in that will be helpful in memorizing what you're actually playing. Because when I first started learning and teaching myself, I looked in a book and I saw chords, and I just started remembering the shapes, and a lot of times I would forget what the name of it was. And then when you're sitting with your friends and you're trying to play a song and they call out a chord and I'm like, ugh, I don't know what chord that is. But then they would show me and I go, oh wait, no, I do know that chord. I just didn't know that was the name of it. And I think this way, going through and trying to memorize what you're actually playing, because that's all it really is in the beginning, is you just have to memorize it. That's what I would suggest. So let's get to it here in 1 minute. I just want to say before I start, I've had a lot of new subscribers in the last couple of weeks, and I really appreciate all of you. Listen, this is all free. It doesn't cost anything to be nice in the world, but it also doesn't cost anything to subscribe. So if you're so inclined and you want to help me out and help the channel out for free, you could just subscribe to it or like the video, or do all the above, and then maybe go one step further and leave me a comment. Tell me something that you'd like me to talk about, or something that you are struggling to learn, or something that was easy for you in the beginning and something you think others would benefit from. I really appreciate all the feedback, and if you're sitting here watching this video, I appreciate it. All right, without further ado, let's move on to the chords. So I always start with E minor. I think a lot of people, that's the first chord they ever learn. It's just going to be the A string and the D string. Let me back up if you don't know the string names, okay? From lowest sounding to highest, it's E, A, D, G, B, E. I know I talk fast. You can slow the video down, back it up. E, A, D, G, B, E. A lot of people memorize that as Eddie ate dynamite. Goodbye, Eddie. It's a pretty easy sentence to stick in your brain or whatever. But you can also call the strings by numbers, and that would start from the other direction. This thinnest string would be the first, and the thickest would be the sixth. So it's like string 1, string 2, string 3, 4, 5, and 6. Calling them either way is valid. I tend to usually call them by the string name, like E, A, and D, or something like that. So hopefully you can follow along that way. But for the fifth and fourth string, or the A and the D string at what is our second fret right here, you could play it with either your first two fingers or your second two fingers. But for our purposes right now, we're going to start with the middle two fingers. It's going to make it easier to switch to the other chords we're going to learn. So that's middle finger on A2, ring finger on D2, and you're going to strum all 6 strings from the lowest to the highest. Okay? That's a pretty easy one. Everybody learns that first, I think. So from there, we're just going to build on top of this shape. And now we're going to take our first finger, who's been sitting over here doing nothing, and we're going to go to the G string at the first fret. That's going to be E, A, D, G, right? Eddie ate dynamite, good. You'll get in the habit of doing that as you learn these chords and their names. So we just took E minor, and now we're making it E major. Pretty easy move there. Go back to E minor, just take your first finger off. Yeah, when you're learning these chords, it's always just helpful to go back and forth between two easy ones that don't take a lot of effort and get used to it. One thing you could think about is, and you're going to see it in most of the chords that we're going to learn today, listen to the chord. Listen to what you're playing. No one ever said that to me in the beginning, and it just makes so much sense. It makes everything easier when you think that way. So when you hear an E minor chord, it sounds kind of sad or mysterious or melancholy. It's not that bad. But then when you hear a major chord, it it's much brighter, it's much happier sounding. Watch, major, minor. So that also might help you remember what chord you're playing. Are you playing an E major or are you playing an E minor? You have to know, because they won't work together most of the time. And then another thing you could think about what you're doing is where the lowest note in your chord is. And that's that low E string or the 6th string. Okay, so that's helping name the chord. So now, so far we have 2, E minor, E major. Now what I want you to do for the 3rd chord is just take this shape we're using for E major and move each finger down 1 string towards the floor, right? Tonally, we're moving up because the strings get higher sounding, but we're gonna say down towards the floor. So now my first finger is on B1, my second finger, middle finger, is on D2, and my 3rd finger is on G2, okay? And this is called A minor. It's the same shape as E major, but we're just down 1 string each towards the floor. And instead of starting with the low E string, we're gonna start with the 5th string, which is an A string. And you can think of that as the root name, root of the chord, or the bass note of the chord, whatever is an easier way to think of it and memorize it. Okay, kind of sad sounding or mysterious. Okay, now we're gonna take that and turn it into A major. Okay, so we're gonna bring those middle 2 fingers down 1 more strings each, okay, per finger towards the floor, and then bring that first finger over from the 1st fret to the 2nd fret and put it sort of on top of your middle finger. So now we have the open A string. We're gonna skip the low E string. So open A, then that's my index finger is on 2D, my middle finger is on 2G, and my ring finger is on 2B, and then we have the high E open. So start from the A string again, A major. So look how seamless it was moving from E minor, we add that finger on the G string at the 1st fret, we have E major, bring them down a string, we've got A minor, come down 1 more string with those middle fingers and bring your 1st finger over, and we have A major. Okay, so E minor, E major, A minor, A major. Now we're going to go to another major chord. It's called D major. So our 1st finger is going to lead the charge, just coming down 1 string towards the floor. Now my index finger is on G2. We're going to skip a string, and then our middle finger is going to play the high E at the 2nd fret. 3rd finger is going to come over here and play the B string on the very next fret. Okay, and now you can hit it from the A string down. That technically makes it a slightly different voiced chord, or changes the name of it only slightly. It's okay if you hit the A string. We want to try to get it from the D string down so that we have that root note or D note in the bass. But if you hit the A string, it's not going to sound bad. It's not going to clash. So in the beginning, don't worry about it. I just tell my students, just sort of aim for the middle. What you definitely want to do is avoid the low E string. It won't sound very good with that in the bass. So from the A string or from the D string, okay? Again, from our A, we only came down 1 string. So it kept our first 2 fingers still in the 2nd fret. So even all this time, E minor, E major, A minor, A major, and now to D, those first 2 fingers have been in the 2nd fret the whole time, okay? It's a major chord, nice and bright and happy sounding kind of, all right? Now, to make it D minor, okay, we're gonna take our middle finger and we're just gonna move it up to where our 1st finger was. That's sort of, when you do that, your hand will have no choice. It'll push your 1st finger back like that. And that's great because that's what we want to happen. Middle finger to G2, our 3rd finger, our ring finger, stays put. And our 1st finger is gonna come back and grab the 1st fret of the 1st string or the high E string. And again, you're gonna play it from the D string if possible. If you hit the A, it's okay. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's still a D minor chord. Okay. I don't know why, for myself as well as a lot of beginners out there, D minor feels a little awkward in the beginning or a little bit of a stretch, but you'll get it. And it's a good workout for your hand. I think the best way to practice it is coming from the D major to the D minor. You get that really, I don't know if it's like, you know, you heard in a lot of Beatles songs, or it's a cool sound though, right? From major to minor. Okay, backing up again, E minor, turn into E major, turn it into A minor, turn it into A major, come down a string, it's D major, D minor. Good job if you're still with me, okay? From here, we're gonna play a chord called C add 9, okay? And we're gonna leave our ring finger where it is and put our pinky down on the first string at the 3rd fret. So that's the high E at the 3rd fret. And now we're gonna move our middle finger up to 3A and our first finger to 2D. And we're playing that from the A string down. A lot of you might be looking at this chord. If you know a couple of beginner open chords, you might say it looks like G. That's where we're going next. It does look a lot like a G chord, but we're starting from the A string. That's where our bass note is. That's a C note. And then our first finger's on D2. So we're strumming from the A string down. That's C add 9, okay? Now, everybody loves this when I show it to them. To switch from this chord to G is pretty easy. You're just gonna take your first 2 fingers, keep the same shape, and you're gonna move up a string each towards the ceiling. So now my middle finger's on 3E and my first finger's on 2A, but you'll notice my ring and my pinky, they stayed put. And we get to strike all 6 strings, and that's our bass note or the root note in the chord. It's not always the lowest note in the chord, but a lot of times it is, and that's a G note. Okay, so recap the first series of chords that I wanted to show you and the order that you should practice them in, because you can build each shape into the next one. E minor, E major, down a string towards the floor each. Same shape though, it's A minor, down a string towards the floor each with those, bring this finger over, A major, then index finger down a string, skip a string, and then 3B. We have D major, okay? Put your middle finger where your index finger is and push that first finger back. Now we have D minor, okay? Pinky on the high E at the 3rd fret, move to 3A, 2D. We have C add 9, okay? And first and second finger move towards the ceiling, each a string. I'm on 3E, 2A. And ring and pinky are still on B and E at the 3rd fret, okay? That's the first series of chords. Great job if you're still here. I want to go ahead and just show you the other E minor chord before we move on. It's just going to be on the same 2 strings, the A string and the D string at the 2nd fret, but you're going to use your first 2 fingers to play it. Okay? Now, this is probably the way that most people learn E minor first. I didn't show it to you first because I want to teach you that cycle of chords to go through. Name those chords as you play them in that order to practice them, and pay attention to the quality of the chord. Does it sound bright and happy? Does it sound sad and mysterious? That was that part of the lesson. E minor with the first 2 fingers is very easy for a lot of people, accessible for a lot of people in the beginning. Very easy. One chord you could pair with it that would be really easy to practice back and forth is just going from E minor to A major, back to E minor. Famous song that does that is Pink Floyd's Breathe. I think it's actually an A dominant 7th chord, but for our purposes, it. That's a good one. And going back to our last set of chords, when we looked at the same shape for E major and A minor, those are 2 really great ones if you just want to pair off 2 chords in the beginning and you're not ready to go through that whole cycle of chords. You could practice those 2. Okay, if you're still with me, I really appreciate you. If you haven't subscribed or liked the video or left a comment, I really appreciate it if you do. All right, last set of chords that I want to show you. There will be one more repeat. So this was our repeat, first repeat. It was E minor like that, but you can also play it like that. Why would you want to know 2 different, fingerings for the same chord? Well, because it depends on what chord you're going to. Let me show you real quick. If you're going to A major from E minor, look how easy that is. I just brought those fingers down a string each and added my 3rd finger on. And then to go back to E minor, I go up a string each and then take that finger off. That's pretty easy. But let's say we were going to A minor from E minor. Well, we might want to use this E minor, because if you play this E minor and bring your fingers down a string each, then you could just add your first finger on the first fret of the B string. And then bring them back up and remove the first finger. Okay? So that would be another way you could practice those chords. As promised, let's get on to the 3 extra chords. There's really 2 of them and one's a repeat. So this one, a lot of beginners have trouble with, but I'm gonna tell you, I don't want you to stress too much about getting the bar. This is technically your first bar chord. We want to get the first finger to get the first string and the second string at the first fret. So the E and the B strings. Second finger is going to get G at the second fret. Third finger is going to get D at the third fret. Okay, there's your F chord. Okay. There's other ways to play this F too, but this is largely the one that everybody learns first. Now, what I want you to focus on is, yeah, you're supposed to bar these 2 chords. You might recognize that. You recognize that riff? Famous grunge song from the 90s. Although I think he played it up here. It's from Smells Like Teen Spirit. But if you can hold those 2 down, you can just practice holding those 2 down. And then as you get more comfortable with it, add that finger. And then when you get really comfortable, get all 3. But don't let not being able to fret this string hold you back from playing the full chord. I'd say, at a gig last night, probably maybe 50% of the time I accidentally mute that string. In the heart of the song, I'm singing, I'm strumming, I'm playing, we're having fun, we're laughing. You know, I'm not picture perfect all the time in terms of getting all the notes, but I mean, the guitar police never show up and stop us. You know what I mean? So don't worry about it. Just get the D string, the G string, and the B string, okay? So work on it from the low end of the chord and getting those 3 notes. And then when you can, get the high E too. Also, work on it from the high end, like I said. Practice just getting those 2 notes, then adding a third, and then adding your third finger for the whole chord. Okay, good news. The next chord is a C chord, and the C chord I showed you in the first series of chords was called a C add 9. Don't worry about what that means, but good news for the C chord is it's almost the exact same shape as this F chord. What we're going to do is we're going to take our middle finger and go up a string, and our ring finger and go up a string. Now our first finger does not need to get this high E, so now I can let the tip of my finger sort of stand up on the string, okay? And we're going to play it from the A string down. Where are my fingers? That's 3A, 2D, and 1B, okay? We were at F, and we kept our first finger on the B string and moved those 2 fingers up. Okay, I'm just playing from the A string to the high E string, or the 5th string to the 1st string, however you like to think about it. Okay, great. So the last chord then is we're going to go to G, which we learned G like this in the first series of chords. Now we're going to play it like this, okay? But wait, before you get worried, look, here's your F. You bring your ring and your pinky up 1 to play C towards the ceiling. Bring them up 1 more string towards the ceiling and get rid of your first finger. You don't need it. The B string is going to be open. And get your pinky on that high E. So now I've got 3E, 2A, and my pinky's on 3E, 3 high E. And this is the G that makes it simple to go back to C. If we were playing G the other way, look, it wouldn't be wrong to use this G and switch to C. I don't have much trouble doing it, but I certainly did in the beginning. And in the beginning, chord changes are hard enough and fast enough in the songs that you want to play that you just want the easiest way to get there, and this would be it. That would be G, C, F. So I feel like these 3 chords can be your second series of chords to practice, right? F, C, G, and then walk back up. G, C, F. playing some song. It sounds familiar to me. Okay, you don't have to play them that fast. I'm just demonstrating. Okay. Another tip might be to take any of these chords you're playing, going back to maybe like E minor and A minor, or E major and A minor, or even this E minor and A major, or any two that you decide to pair off together and practice together, like D major and D minor. Might be good to hold yourself to a rhythm. That doesn't mean you have to do anything crazy with your right hand, but just get yourself used to hearing and feeling a rhythm, like a 4 count. Most popular music, the overwhelming majority of it is in 4/4 timing, which means that you have 4 beats to a measure, yada, yada, yada. Don't worry really what that means, but I would say take the chords and just play them in that sort of a beat, like 1, 2, 3, 4, switch. 1, 2, 3, 4, switch. 1, 2, 3, 4, switch. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that just sounds more musical than, you know, going fast through some chords and then having to slow down for the ones that you don't know quite as well. Anyways, that's all I wanted to do for today. Again, I really appreciate if you made it to this point in the video. I really appreciate you for being here, and I hope this helps some of you guys. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Tell me what else you want me to talk about. All right, see you next time.